Hello and welcome in. I'm going to do a little quick review of all the movies I saw in the theater this year. Being a member of AMC A-List for the last few years, I tend to watch a lot of movies, good and bad. And my rating system is, I'm probably a little bit more lenient than most people in regards to the entertainment I see in movies, because I just love going to the cinema so much. That love comes from, working in the theater industry from high school until my early 30s before I changed careers, and then being a projectionist for so long, screening movies for so many years in the film era before it went to digital. So I just love going to the cinema, and hopefully the theaters will stick around for as long as possible before Netflix and other companies come in and destroy those release windows from theater to digital. In the year 2025, I went and correlated all the lists I have that I track inside of Apple Journal. I use Apple Journal. I just go to IMDb, click the image, and then just do a share to the Journal app, and do just like a quick review, and then a star rating for all the movies I see. Reviewing what I watched in the theaters in 2025. I did not realize how many movies I saw last year in the theater, and the total was 70. I saw 70 movies in the theater. Most of those were AMC. Two of them that I recall were not. One of them I saw at a Regal Cinemas, and then one of them I saw on a cruise ship. Went on Disney cruise over the holiday and saw Zootopia 2 there. So I do count that because it was an actual theater we watched it in, and it was during when it was released. So counting that one, and then even though I worked for Regal Cinemas for the better part of 15 years, I am an AMC A-lister. Regal Cinemas subscription option I was comparing to, it's better in regards that you have unlimited movies you can watch, but there's a lot of limitations in regards to upgrades around 3Ds or those large format screens, whereas with AMC A-List, you just pay the monthly cost and can see 4 movies a week in any kind of format. 3D, Dolby, IMAX, doesn't matter. You still don't have to pay any upgrade fees. So even though AMC is a little farther than where I live, it's definitely worth it. And also it's a nicer theater, I think, than the Regal that's next to me. But gonna do a quick review of every movie I saw last year. My rating system, I usually just do a 1 through 5 stars, so pretty basic. Don't do any of that half star stuff. So 1 star is basically an review. 2 stars is meh. 3 stars, which is it's fine. It was enjoyable for the most part. 4 stars is excellent, and then 5 stars is phenomenal. But don't think I did any 5-star reviews last year. And actually, looking at some of my star ratings, I would have went back and changed them because I think I was a little too generous on a few films. But to kick off the year, the first movie I saw in 2025 was A Complete Unknown, which was the Bob Dylan biopic that basically covers his time moving in from kind of the acoustic to the electric age. Really enjoyed that movie as a musician myself, and kind of learning a bit more about Bob Dylan, even though I'm not a big fan of his. Thought Timothy Chalamet was great in that movie, and I gave that one a 3-star review. Definitely highly recommend if you like biopics. And then second movie of the year that I saw was A Fire Inside, which is a biopic in regards to a boxer. It's been a while, doesn't really stick too much in your head. It was a pretty generic biopic, but it was entertaining enough. I gave that one 3 stars. And then there's Den of Thieves Pantera, which was an entertaining movie for the most part. I think it was far better than the first installment of that series. I don't know if they're going to do more than the 2 movies, but for kind of a heist movie, it was fairly entertaining. I give that one 3 stars. All right, next we have One of Them Days with Keke Palmer, where it's 2 roommates trying to make rent money, and the chaos that ensues in their daily adventures to try and scrounge together enough money to pay the rent for the month. That one I gave $3. That one I gave 3 stars. It was pretty funny, pretty entertaining. Following that, watched Flight Risk. Gave that one 2 stars. That one has Mark Wahlberg, and it was directed by Mel Gibson, who is a very problematic. Actually, Mark Wahlberg and Mel Gibson were both kind of problematic. But overall, that was kind of an underwhelming movie. And then after that, saw Presence, which is a little bit of a unconventional horror movie. And I wouldn't go so far to call it a horror movie, but more of a drama. That one was a pretty interesting take on the ghost genre. I gave that one 3 stars. And then there's the following week, watched Companion, which is kind of a sci-fi movie in regards to, robots and AI and how the relationships happen there. Thought that one was pretty good, and in retrospect probably would have given it a slightly higher score than I did, which only gave that one 3 stars. And then around Valentine's Day watched Love Hurts, which was an all right, I guess, romantic comedy action movie. Overall, it was mostly entertaining, maybe a little underwhelming, but I did give that one 3 stars. In retrospect, I probably would give it a 2. And then around the same time, February last year, was Hard Eyes, which is the horror slasher movie. That one, for the most part, I really enjoyed. I thought the ending was a little underwhelming, and you can kind of see the story coming a little bit ahead of the reveal on that one. Gave that one 3 stars. And then there's probably one of the biggest disappointments of the year was the Captain America Brave New World, which the trailers look great. The trailers made it look kind of like a espionage type thriller, hoping to kind of turn up the Marvel Cinematic Universe a little bit. But overall, that movie was not good. It was not a good movie. I did give it a 2 stars because it did have a couple okay action scenes and was kind of your run-of-the-mill Marvel movie in the Phase 4, Phase 5, or wherever the hell they are in at the time. And then next we had The Monkey, which Oscar Perkins is definitely one of the up-and-coming horror masters. Really enjoy the way he kind of does horror. It's kind of weird, a little off-putting, but The Monkey I thought was highly entertaining. Gave that one 3 stars. And then one of the more entertaining sci-fi movies of the year was Mickey 17, which I thought was excellent, although I do kind of tend to like weird, kind of quirky sci-fi movies, and Mickey 17 was right up there, and gave that one 4 stars. And then there was a Black Bag, which is kind of a low-key spy movie, a little bit between a husband and wife couple. That one was pretty entertaining. I liked that it was kind of more of a small scale production. A lot of simple scenes in that one, and overall that was a pretty entertaining movie. In retrospect, I'd probably give it a higher score than I ended up giving it, which is a 3. I'd probably look back and give that one a 4. And then we have the action comedy Novocaine, which was pretty funny. I enjoyed that one for the most part. Gave that one 3 stars, and you'll see a common theme through this is I'm pretty generous in how I rate movies because I just love going to the theater and watching movies there and watching movies at home. So Novocaine, gave that one a 3. Next up was the super controversial Snow White. I'm not really into the live action remakes that Disney does, but I didn't really hate that movie as much as people were ragging on it. Overall, I thought it was all right. Gave that one 3 stars. Thought they could have did something different with the dwarves. The dwarves, they probably should have did non-CGI. Probably would have helped in that movie. And then also, that movie really shows how terrible of an actress that Gal Gadot is. She thought that movie was not great. If she wasn't in the movie, it'd probably be better. But overall, generic Disney fare right there. And if it changes stuff inside the original movies, then what's the point of making these live action if you're just going to do a 1-to-1 remake? So I don't really have an issue with the live action stuff other than Disney just kind of being lazy. Next after that was Jason Statham's A Working Man. You know, he's the hardest working actor in Hollywood, always churning out a one or two movies a year within that kind of the I guess they'd call them dad movies. But this is probably one of the weaker ones I've seen of Jason Statham. Beekeeper, I think, was the one I saw before that, the year before, which was actually pretty good. I enjoyed the Beekeeper, but A Working Man the story was a little too simple, and overall the action in it wasn't as great as you want from a Jason Statham movie. So giving that one 2 stars. And then watched Death of a Unicorn, which I was kind of excited for when I saw the trailers for it, but overall it was kind of I don't know. I don't think they really followed through on the premise of that movie. Gave that one a 2. It was all right, but I think it was a little lacking in kind of the story beats that went on there. Then next we have The Amateur, which is a CIA analyst whose wife gets killed, and he wants to go into the field and extract revenge. And that one was pretty good for kind of that, unconventional Jason Bourne type movie. Gave that one 3 stars. And then the second 4 of the year would go to Sinners, which was fantastic. That movie was Ryan Coogler doing his thing, making a original film that went to some cool places. Definitely love the music. Some of the music scenes in that movie are fantastic, and it's kind of a bluesy kind of musical. I would definitely consider Sinners kind of a musical. And then the Accountant 2, that one was a little interesting because they pivoted in regards to the tone of the movie from the first one. The first Accountant I really enjoyed. It was kind of a look into this. I don't know if I could say he's autistic, but this character who has a hidden day job as an accountant for companies, but also has a secondary persona of being a assassin. But the sequel was all right. Gave that one 3 stars, but it kind of changed it went more comedy in the sequel, and I thought that was a weird pivot. It wasn't as straightforward as the first one. Next we have Thunderbolts, which I really enjoyed. That I thought that was a fresh take on the superhero genre and the topics it kind of covered in regards to mental health, and that kind of being the big bad per se in that movie. So giving Thunderbolts a 4, thought that one was great. And then another horror movie for the year, Until Dawn, which is based on the video game, but more of a prequel to the video game. And so that one I did not like, but I tend to watch a lot of horror movies, and that one was super basic, super generic. Gave that one 2 stars. And then there's a Swedish movie, I believe it's a Swedish movie called Watch the Skies, basically a sci-fi movie. Happened to see it. I'll sometimes go to the theater, watch these weird movies that show up that aren't really promoted to, and a lot of people probably not have heard of. That one was all right. It was a little bit slow and kind of meandered too much. And some of the acting was a little questionable, so gave that one 2 stars. Although the interesting thing with that, if I recall correctly, is that the actors in that actually did their voice for the Swedish version, and then they also did the English voices. But I believe they used AI to sync up and change the lip movements so that it looked a little more natural and didn't really look like an overdub. So that was an interesting idea. I don't know if it really went through, and maybe that was an impact on how I saw some of the acting, is maybe there was something off with the voices in the dialogue syncing. Next up we saw Fight or Flight, which I gave a 4 because that movie, I really enjoyed it. It was, I guess it was kind of like Bullet Train, but on an airplane, but I thought it was a lot of fun. The premise was, pretty generic, but the action in the movie was fantastic. And then following that, I saw Lilo and Stitch the live action. It was all right. It was a 3 stars. If I was a kid, I'd probably think it was fantastic. And I don't really have an issue that they changed the ending in that one. You know, if you're going to make it live action, why make it the same as the animated films? And then there's Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, which I remember watching the same day as Lilo and Stitch. Did a double feature. And I think that might have played into why I only gave it 3 stars. And maybe I would have gave it 2, because that movie was a little bit long and it wasn't as impactful as some of the earlier Mission Impossible films. So I remember kind of being a little bored towards the end of that, but that could have been due to watching it back to back with another film that day. And then Karate Kid Legends, which was actually kind of surprising. I wasn't sure what to expect from that, but I actually really enjoyed it. I give that one 3 stars. And I like that they kind of brought in the Cobra Kai universe into there, bringing Daniel Son into it as another mentor for the young student. And then Final Destination Bloodlines, which was probably the first Final Destination I've seen in a long time. Not sure if I saw some of the more recent runs that came out in the last 10 years or so, just because that series kind of slowly went downhill. But Bloodlines was pretty interesting, and it's not Seattle base starting, and then it had a couple really good death scenes that paid off with some characters that just were super annoying. And I remember being in the audience and everybody cheering when the one kid gets killed because he was annoying as hell. Next up, we have The Phoenician Scheme, which was pretty good. Probably not one of my favorite Wes Anderson movies, but overall entertaining. Gave that one 3 stars. And then here's another 4-star one, which in retrospect I'd probably just give 3s. It was Ballerina. I'm not sure why I gave that one 4 stars. I thought the action was really good in it, and that's maybe why I gave it 4 stars, because I really enjoy some well filmed action scenes. But in retrospect, I'd probably give it a 3. And then there's Bringing Her Back, which was kind of a moody horror movie. Overall, I gave that one a 3 stars. In retrospect, I'd probably give it a 2, because I did find it a bit slow and maybe a little bit predictable. And also, it's probably not my favorite type of horror genre, this really kind of depressing horror. I don't really care for depressing horror that much. I like horror. The reason I find horror very interesting is that it's about the unknown. And so I kind of lump it in with kind of sci-fi fantasy stuff, and it's kind of the reason I really enjoy watching a lot of different horror movies, is that it's more about the unknown and what is going on and kind of the mystery behind it. And some of the more, I guess, moody movies such as Bring Her Back and those type of films I didn't really care for. So in retrospect, I'd probably give that one a 2. Then watched Elio, which was a new Pixar movie. I actually haven't really been into Pixar for a while. I think most of their stuff over the last, I don't know, they keep falling back on their laurels and making all these new Toy Story movies. They're just doing sequels. Also, I think a lot of the industry has mocked, well, I would say mocked, but mimicked what Pixar has been doing. And so a lot of animation looks similar to Pixar's, and so I think that kind of waters down Pixar's impact into the theatrical space and the movie making space. And it might be time for maybe Pixar to move into a different direction in regards to how their art is designed, and maybe come up with a new aesthetic for what a Pixar movie is, since everybody's kind of claimed it for themselves. But Elio was pretty good, I think. Gave that one 3 stars. And then there's Brightheart, which was not a great movie. Like I said, I watch a lot of movies. I'll watch pretty much anything. Brightheart was had some funny stuff. But man, it had some really bad special effects in that movie. I gave that one 2 stars. And then a movie I was really looking forward to, because I do enjoy a good race movie, was F1. I gave that one a 4 because that movie was excellent. That was definitely one of those movies you want to see on the biggest screen as possible. I was going to go watch it again in IMAX, just never got around to it, but did watch it in Dolby, and the sound and the races in that movie just are fantastic. And recently just rewatched it since it came out on Apple. And man, it holds up even for being almost 3 hours. It is definitely an excellent movie. Next was Jurassic Park Rebirth. For some reason, he gave this one a 3 stars, but I actually didn't think it was that good, so I'm not sure why he gave it 3 stars. Retrospect, I'd give it a 2 because that movie kind of sucked. It was not a great Jurassic Park movie. A lot of special effects were pretty terrible, and the story was, I don't know, the story didn't really make much sense. And they had a lot of characters in that movie for some reason because they needed to pad the time. Next saw The Life of Chuck, which I gave it 3 stars. Thought it was interesting. For the most part, it was kind of a different take on the someone, the afterlife or the shutdown of when somebody passes. So enjoyed kind of that concept of it. So, and I believe it was Stephen King, based on Stephen King, which I always enjoyed the Stephen King stuff and what people do with it for the most part. And then there's Superman, which was another excellent movie. Gave that one 4 stars. Really enjoyed what they did with that movie, and the behind the made them kind of weak, but gave them a reason to keep going. The only thing I'd probably critique on that movie is they actually don't spend too much time as him as Clark Kent, and didn't really do the goofy side that you got from the 80s movies, which was something they also missed in Man of Steel. Next up, we had Eddington. This was like the 38th movie I saw in the theater. That one I gave 3 stars. It was pretty good. I felt like it kind of meandered too much all over the place, and it was kind of a take on the COVID years and how different small cities kind of reacted to some of the shelter-in-place type things that were going on at that time. And then Fantastic Four First Steps. I thought that was a pretty good Marvel movie. Gave that one 3 stars. It was interesting seeing kind of a different universe within the Marvel realm outside of the I guess Earth, whatever Earth that the main franchise takes place in. And then watched the horror movie Together, which I really enjoyed. Gave that one 3 stars. Really enjoyed the performances and kind of the mystery behind it. It was a little weird, a little out there, but overall, great movie. And then Weapons, which was another great movie. That one, gave that one 3 stars. A little weird in places, kind of goes into some odd directions, but overall very entertaining. And then The Roses, which is, the War of the Roses remake, which was pretty funny. Enjoyed that one. Gave that one 3 stars. And then Caught Stealing, which was Darren Aronofsky doing kind of an action comedy. I would call it kind of an action comedy. Overall, I thought it was pretty good, but think it could have landed the main story a little bit better. And then next saw the Naked Gun remake with Liam Neeson, which I think I was just bored that day and decided to go watch that movie. I'm not really into those kind of slapstick style movies. And that one, I think, had like maybe 1 or 2 laughs because I was not impressed with the trailer. I remember being in the theater and everybody laughing at the trailer. And then I watched the movie on a weekday and wasn't super full, but there were people laughing at a bunch of jokes that I did not think were very funny. So gave that one 2 stars. Then I also saw The Toxic Avenger remake with Peter Dinklage. I thought that movie was not great at all. It was kind of slow, a little bit boring. A couple of the action scenes were pretty entertaining with the brutality around them. But outside that, it was not a great movie. Gave that one 2 stars. And then there was The Conjuring Last Rites, which is, the 4th movie in the series. For the most part, I don't like most of the Conjuring movies. The first one I actually kind of like. Not because I thought the Warrens are interesting or that any of the stuff they did is actually real. But the actors, I think, did a great job in that one. And then all the sequels kind of went downhill with Last Rites being slightly better than the third, but still not a great movie. So put that one 2 stars. And then there was Spinal Tap 2, which was pretty entertaining. It was kind of an interesting take on, this old band coming back and the kind of hijinks that those characters get in. So gave that one a 3 stars. It was not too long, probably the right length for a movie at that type. And then there was A Long Walk, which I really enjoyed. Gave that one 4 stars. Another Stephen King adaptation. I thought it was really great. I know a lot of people had issues with the ending. I didn't really have too much of an issue with the ending, but overall that was great. And then Him, which was an interesting horror movie within kind of the football space. I wasn't was one of those movies where I wasn't interested initially in the trailers, and then eventually saw the trailer enough to, okay, I'll go see it. What's going on in this movie? And overall, I thought it was an all right movie. Gave that one 3. Actually, don't have too many issues with the ending on that one either, which a lot of people seem to not like. I like the kind of randomness and out there take on the ending on there. And then I went and watched David Bautista's Afterburn. This was like some random post-apocalyptic movie. It was terrible. It was not a great movie. Gave that one 2 stars. He's like a treasure hunter in this post-apocalyptic Europe, and he gets hired to go find something, a map to a bunker that has a bunch of weapons, and that movie was terrible. Bad special effects. It was very small for the type of scale they wanted to do. And then Roof Man with Channing Tatum was a pretty great movie. Gave that one 3 stars. I kind of give everything 3 stars if you haven't noticed. So maybe this year when I'm looking at movies, I'm going to probably rate stuff a little differently. But overall, that was a pretty entertaining movie. Really enjoyed the performances in there and the kind of wackiness of this dude living in Toys R Us for a better part of a few months. And then there was the remake no one asked for, Tron Ares. In retrospect, I'd give it a lower score. I gave it a 3, but mainly I gave it a 3 because the soundtrack was awesome. It not as good as the Daft Punk in the previous movie, but Nine Inch Nails did a pretty great job on kind of redeeming that movie in some way for the most part. The story was kind of lackluster, and even the action in that movie wasn't that great. So Tron Ares, 3 stars, mainly because Nine Inch Nails. And then Good Fortune, I thought was a fantastic movie, looking at the difference between the rich and the working class and kind of the things that go around there and trading places, basically. But Keanu Reeves is in it, and I think he was fantastic as Angel. Gave that one 4 stars. All right, next we have Black Phone 2, starting off the Halloween season. This was a pretty interesting sequel because I think it kind of went to some different places from the first movie. Enjoyed the setting. Overall, thought it was a pretty good movie in regards to bringing more of a cast in and providing a different background for the baddie in that movie. So gave that one a 3. And then next horror movie after that was Shelby Oaks, which was something I was looking forward to. I enjoy a good found footage film. But Shelby Oaks, I think it started strong, but just kind of went downhill about halfway through that movie and just ended up in a kind of an uninteresting place. I did not like how that movie went. And the ending, I thought, the last half of that movie is just terrible. Did not like it. I gave that one 2 stars. And then there was probably one of the, surprises of the year. I knew it was going to be pretty good, but Predator Badlands, gave that one a 4 because that's why you go to the movies. Be entertained, see some good action. It was a lot funnier than I was expecting. And I thought that they gave the Predator character an interesting take in regards to making the Predator the lead of a movie, especially speaking in a different language. But having the robot sidekick helped a lot in that movie, and just love the universe that they were building and expanding in there. And then there's the sequel. What was that? Now You See Me, Now You Don't. I actually enjoy that series. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I don't mind that. Comedies, heist films like that. I really enjoyed the first 2. The third one is definitely the weakest of the 3. Give that one 3 stars. And then Running Man, which was a movie I was looking forward to because it was adapting the Stephen King book a little closer to the source material, on top of being a remake of the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, which I really loved. This one I enjoyed that it was a different take on that universe. Yeah, I think it had some issues and it probably wasn't as big as a lot of people wanted it to be, but overall I enjoyed the movie. It probably had a little pacing issues. Could have probably been a 20-minute shorter if it had a tighter script, because a lot of it was just him hiding in hotels, which was kind of interesting. Gave that one 3 stars. And then we have another Osgood Puckern's movie, Keeper. He didn't write this one, he just directed, but overall enjoyed the fairy tale aspect of this horror film. Gave that one 3 stars. And then Sisu Road to Revenge was another action movie. You know, it doesn't have a lot, has way more dialogue than the first movie, but you don't go to Sisu for the story, you go for the ludicrous action and death scenes of Nazis getting killed. So highly recommend that one if you enjoy kind of like that John Wick type action and some of the crazy set pieces that go on in there. I gave that one 3 stars. And then watched Rental Family, which I thought was pretty good. That one had some pacing issues, but I gave that one 3 stars. It was all right. And then there's Five Nights at Freddy's 2. I know a lot of people didn't really care for that one too much, but overall gave that one a 3 stars. Thought it was all right. I did like that they kind of brought in some of the video game a little bit more in a couple of the scenes. I don't really know the video game universe lore that well, but overall, I kind of like what they're doing with that series. I only count this because I did see it in the theater, was Jujutsu Kaisen's Resurrection. I don't know. I didn't care to look up the name because I thought this movie was terrible. Gave that one 1 stars. That was like the first 1 star of the year because I actually did double feature between that and Five Nights at Freddy's. And it's because my son wanted to watch Jujutsu Kaisen. I have seen the first 1 or 2 seasons of the anime, but kind of watching it in the background because if you like people just talking about what they're going to do, Jujutsu Kaisen is the movie for you, because this is basically just like the first 3 episodes combined into the movie, which they've been doing a lot with some of these anime theatrical releases. And this movie was, I don't know, I had a good nap in it, I guess. Gave that one 1 star. And then Silent Night, Deadly Night remake. Actually, was surprised by this movie. About halfway through, I wasn't know how to feel about it, but I did give it a 3 stars. It was kind of an interesting take on the horror genre. I know I've seen some reviews about it and how people really love the originals from the 70s or 80s and thought this one was not that great, but not having the context of what the original ones were about, I actually really enjoyed this one. And then there was Wicked for Good, the sequel to Wicked. I thought this movie was terrible. It was not a great movie. I gave it 1 stars because I did enjoy the first one. This one, I just didn't see the point of it, and I think they really should have just stuck with one like 3-hour-long movie and tied it up because there's a lot of filler. Also with the Wicked play, I don't think Wicked has that great of music for a musical. Next, we got Dust Bunny, which was just some random movie I saw show up at the AMC. Has Mads Mikkelsen in it. It's kind of a fairy tale film. Thought it was pretty entertaining. Gave that one 3 stars. Nothing super special, but definitely a little bit out there in regards to the story. In the visuals, really enjoyed that one. And then watched the cultural phenomenon that is Avatar: Fire and Ash, because Avatar has a major cultural impact, according to the film cast. This movie, if you saw the second one, you see this movie for the most part. I gave Avatar: Fire and Ash 2 stars. Overall, the visuals were fantastic, but I really wish James Cameron would do something else than stick with the Avatar movies, because we've had 3 movies that are almost all the same. Fire, Ash, and The Way of Water were basically the same movie outside a couple points, and then a lot of the characters within Avatar I do not care for, especially the kids. The kids I find unbearable in the sequels, and they really dragged the movie down. And I was surprised at how close it was to The Way of Water in regards they still stayed within that kind of biome in the movie, whereas you think they're going to change biomes as the movies go on, which is kind of a weird idea. But they only spend a little bit of time in the Fire and Ash realm, I guess you would call it. Overall, outside the set pieces that were interesting and the visuals that James Cameron does, I thought were great, but the story drags that movie down to a 2. And then Zootopia 2, saw this on the cruise ship. Thought it was pretty good. I don't really recall the first one too much. But this was entertaining enough. I think there were some pretty funny inside jokes in it. Gave that one 3 stars. And then the last movie of 2025 that I saw was Anaconda. Something I wasn't expecting when I first saw the trailers, but we ended up watching this the day we flew back from Florida, which is another great thing about the AMC A-List. It was able to just go see it at Disney Springs, kill some time before I had to catch a flight. Overall, this movie was all right. It was 3 stars. Like some of the callbacks they did to the original movie and the original cast was kind of funny, but it's a Jack Black, Paul Rudd movie. You kind of know what to expect. I realized after filming the entire list of movies I saw, I do have a 70th film that I forgot and didn't have it in my journal app, which was Begonia, which I give it 4 stars. I thought that movie was excellent. I like the weirdness of it. I like that the movie played on the conspiracy theory on if she's an alien or not, and really the following in regards to pricing and the value of A-List still stands roughly the same. Just needed to pop in and remember that I saw that movie. I think AMC A-List is the best value if you're a moviegoer. Did some quick math. Think if I was to pay for all these movies, I did an average ticket price of about $15. For the year, that would have been around $1,000, a little over $1,000 if I would have paid full price for all these movies. But with the AMC A-List being $27.99 a month, being able to see 4 movies a week, and that 12-month subscription was $324. So definitely you get your bang for your buck if you're an AMC A-List, on top of buying concessions and getting your $5 rewards, which we tend to get a lot of. But that is the 2025 movies that I saw last year. This year, I don't know, maybe I'll beat it. Maybe I'll beat 69 movies in the theater. I'm hoping this year shapes up to be a little better, because I do feel that last year was a little weak, especially in the holiday season. I don't know, there wasn't really a lot of big blockbusters that came out. But let me know what your favorite movies of last year were. Let me know if you disagree with any of my takes on any of the movies in here.